Hi, welcome to the Mystery School. My name's Darren. Today I'll be talking about the theme of focused imagination and how to use the power of your focused imagination to transform your reality and to create what you love. And our focused imagination is something that's inherent within us, and it's inherent within us as powerful and magical beings. It's like our magic talisman that enables us to create what we love and to transform into our royalty. And so I'm going to elaborate on how we can do that and how we can use that. And specifically, as it relates to our ability to create our own reality. Because most of the time, we unconsciously create our reality from our beliefs. And when we do, we end up creating the end result of struggle and survival. Whereas when we're able to harness the power of our focused imagination, that's when we can transform our reality, because that's how we're able to create what we love directly and effortlessly and magically. So what this video will elaborate on is how we can do that, because there's an underlying premise or an underlying aspect of our greatness called the subconscious mind, that when we understand how that works and how it's constructed, it's the means by which it's like the vessel, if you like, that enables us to shift the power from our beliefs and assumptions to our focused imagination, and then as a result transform our reality. So I'm going to share my screen with you and go through a presentation that elaborates on how all of this works. Okay, so it all comes down to this core premise that who you really are in your royalty, in your greatness, is a powerful and magical creator. And I've created a video prior to this where I go into the philosophy of the Mystery School. And the philosophy of the Mystery School is all weaved around the hero's journey and the heroine's journey underlying structure. It's what I call the Transformational Treasure Map. And this kind of weaves in really beautifully to what I go through in unpacking the hero's journey structure. And the hero's journey structure starts where we're all born of royalty, where we all have a greatness. And so this is essentially saying the same thing. And so if you haven't seen that video, I'll include a link for that so that you can have a look at that as well, because it will complement this video really beautifully. And so as a powerful and magical creator, you're always creating your reality. And there's only two ways essentially that we can create our reality. And this is what I touched on before, is that we're either creating our reality with our beliefs and assumptions, and then the reality we create as a result is one of survival and struggle when we do that. Or alternatively, we're creating the reality of what we love with our imagination and intuition. And so they're the two realities we create, basically depending on where we put our focus. And so what I'm going to elaborate on now is how we can do that, how we can be aware of the reality that we're creating and how we can transform our reality as a result. And as I was touching on before, it all pivots around this premise, this fundamental principle that there's this aspect of us, there's an aspect of our greatness called the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is invisible. And so the best way of bringing it to life is through illustration. And I like to think of the subconscious mind as rich, fertile soil, in that whatever you plant within that rich, fertile soil and whatever you nurture and water, it will grow into reality. So if you plant apples, you'll grow apples. If you plant flowers, you'll grow flowers. You know, it's kind of that simple. And another great example is a woman's womb. A woman's womb is a really good example, because when an egg gets fertilized, it will grow into reality within the womb. Another great example that I like to use, having gone into music quite deeply over the last few years, is a musical instrument is a really good example of the subconscious mind, in that it will play whatever you focus on. If you love playing blues music, it will play blues. That's the music that will come from your instrument. if you love classical music, then that's what will come through. And it's a really good example actually, because a musical instrument, because it will bring, that's how the subconscious mind works. It brings into reality, immediately into reality, wherever your focus is. And so if you're creating blues, if you're focused on creating blues music, that's the reality that you'll instantly create. And then if you shift your focus to rock and roll or country or jazz, then suddenly you're creating that reality. So there's some 3 great examples of the subconscious mind. And so the way it works in terms of transforming our reality and be able to engage our focused imagination is that we're actually employing 2 premises in the context of the subconscious mind. The first premise being that your focus creates your reality, in that when our focus is on our beliefs and assumptions, we create the reality of survival and struggle. When we shift our focus to our imagination and intuition, we create what we love effortlessly and magically. And then it works in conjunction with this other premise, which says that tension seeks resolution. So whenever we focus on something on the subconscious mind, whether it be our beliefs or our imagination or intuition, that builds tension. And that tension has to be resolved. Whenever tension is created, it's always resolved. And so there's different ways of how we resolve tension to create the reality. And when that tension gets resolved, it resolves into reality. So these 2 premises always work in conjunction with each other. They work in synergy with each other. And so there's only 2 focuses that we can have. The first focus is your beliefs and assumptions. And our beliefs and assumptions tend to be where our focus is most of the time. Because we're wounded in relationship to our greatness and we form these beliefs and assumptions to compensate for the pain of the wound, they tend to be quite ingrained in our subconscious mind as a result. And also too, because our beliefs and assumptions generate our thoughts and feelings. And I'll elaborate on that in a lot more depth as to why and how that happens. But because we orientate to our thoughts and feelings, and we act on our thoughts and feelings, they also then reinforce our beliefs and assumptions, which further ingrain that focus. And so whenever our focus is on our beliefs and assumptions, that builds tension in the subconscious mind, and that tension has to be resolved. And the way that it builds tension is by we go into reaction whenever the beliefs are triggered. And whenever we go into reaction, we resolve that tension with one or more behavior that's related to the beliefs. And there's 12 core beliefs that we formed in childhood in reaction to the wound. And I'll elaborate on each of those in a moment. And then each of these beliefs has certain ways of resolving the tension. And that's what we do, is that when a belief is triggered, for instance, if the belief that I'm unlovable, if that gets triggered in your subconscious mind, what we do to resolve that tension is do things to try to get love, like be a good person, put other people first, be kind, for instance. And so that's an example of how we would resolve tension. But as a result of resolving the tension of the belief, we end up creating the reality that of survival and struggle. And that's what perpetuates ultimately our identity and orientates us and defines us by our identity. Because our identity is built on the beliefs and behaviors constantly resolving each other. And as a result, it creates this invisible threshold that we're not aware of, and also keeps us in the pretend world. And I elaborate on the pretend world in the philosophy video in terms of how our beliefs create our identity, create this pretend self, but then also create this pretend world. And I represent it by this grey box that we end up living out of. It's a grey box created by our perception and our thoughts and feelings and beliefs. And so what I'm going to do now is elaborate on these beliefs and assumptions, or these 12 core beliefs, because it's these 12 core beliefs that sit in our unconscious mind. They sit beneath the surface running the show. bringing, kind of bubbling up our thoughts and feelings. But when you can become aware of these beliefs and assumptions and you bring them to the surface, that's when you can have power over them and shift the power from your beliefs. But whatever they're at the bottom of our consciousness, they are literally like puppet masters running the show. So just to elaborate on the 12 core beliefs with you, just while that's coming up, I'll have a sip of water. So there are 3 types of beliefs. There are depression-based beliefs, fear-based beliefs, and anger-based beliefs. And so if we explore the depression-based beliefs, the first one being that I'm not worthy or I'm unlovable. The next one being I'm not good enough. And the third one being I don't belong. So each of these beliefs generate the emotion of depression and the related thoughts that come whenever you're experiencing depression. And then we've got the fear-based beliefs. And the fear-based beliefs are I need to control myself, others, and the world, or I can't control myself, others, and the world. I don't trust myself, others, in the world, or I need to trust myself, others, in the world. I'm insignificant or I'm invisible. I don't have the capacity, and there is a way the world is. So they're the fear-based beliefs. And then the anger-based beliefs are I'm powerless, then I'm not allowed to be capable, and I need to be perfect, and there is a right way. So they're the 12 core beliefs that we form in childhood in reaction to the wound. And it's these beliefs that we resolve the tension of within the subconscious mind. And as we consistently do that, we create our identity as a result. And it's really powerful and really useful to understand these beliefs and understand how they work. And so what I've done is I've created a document where I've got all the 12 core beliefs and I've got all their related ways that we go about resolving tension. And I'm making that available to you for free. You can just go over to Patron, and I've kept that in the free part of Patron. It's on it's on this side of the pledge barrier. And so that's available to you. And it's really worth the study of seeing and understanding these 12 core beliefs and understanding how we resolve the tension with them. I remember being at a workshop in London many years ago and reading through the beliefs and their corresponding behaviours, and someone spontaneously yelled out when I was going through the worth belief, so you've met my mother then. You know, it's amazing because we play out these behaviours all the time, we think that's who we are. But when you can see that these behaviours just come from a belief, it's incredibly freeing as a result. So that's available to you. I'll include the link in the description for you so that you can go over there and get that. A fantastic resource, it really is. And it's a fantastic resource because it's really powerful to know that it's just your beliefs having power in the subconscious mind that are creating your reality. And when you are aware of that, then all you've got to do is then, if you want to change your reality, is shift your focus. And shift your focus to your imagination and intuition as a result. And which is a really good point, because when we shift our beliefs and assumptions from our focus from our beliefs and assumptions to our imagination and intuition, that's fundamentally what transforms our reality and shifts our focus from our identity to our greatness, from our persona to our royalty. And that's the way to shift the power in the subconscious mind and transform your reality as a result. Whereas most of us don't have direct access to our imagination and intuition. And so we then assume that the way to change our reality is to change our beliefs or to change our behaviors. And so there's all these modalities built on this notion that you can heal the wound, fix the wound, or become aware of your beliefs and change your beliefs, thinking that that's what will change your reality. And the trouble with that way of thinking is that it does momentarily change your reality, but then the tension shifts back again. Because effectively, you're not really changing your beliefs when you do this. You're just moving from one belief to another, or one behavior from another belief to another. But fundamentally, the focus is still on your beliefs and assumptions within your subconscious mind. So even though you may think that your reality changes or the tension resolves itself temporarily, you're still resolving the tension within the grey box of your identity. Whereas being able to shift your focus to your imagination and intuition, which is where your focused imagination comes in, it's a whole new ball game. Because not only do you shift your focus within the subconscious mind, you shift from the pretend world to the magical world. You shift from your identity to your greatness. And one of the things that you're able to do as a result of shifting your focus is to transform your relationship with this threshold, is that you're aware that there's a threshold between the two worlds. And instead of it being this invisible brick wall, you transform it into this shimmering veil. And again, I talk about that shimmering veil in the hero's journey structure. And that shimmering veil is like a magical portal. I love referring to Harry Potter as an example. Like, that shimmering veil is just like the shimmering veil that is the brick wall between platforms 9 and 10 on King's Cross Station. And there's so many great stories and mythologies and movies that embrace this premise of the shimmering veil. And that's the first step, is that accessing your focused imagination allows you to transform that threshold. So rather than being something impenetrable that you can't cross, it becomes this magical, shimmering curtain that you can cross into the magical world through. And once we've got access to our imagination and intuition, and we shift our focus purposefully, what we do is we use our imagination and intuition to reveal what we love. And because when we're in our beliefs and assumptions, it's like putting a cap on the world. We're not aware of what we love. Whereas the imagination and intuition takes the cap off, opens up your heart and reveals what you love. And so that's how when we shift the focus to our imagination, that's how we build tension in the subconscious mind, by revealing what we love with our imagination and intuition. And then in building that tension, we then want to resolve that tension. And we resolve that tension in the magical world with our imagination and intuition, because what we're able to do is step into the end result of what we love and let what we love inform us of the action to take. And that action that we take is always in the magical world, which always leads to our ability to create the end result effortlessly and magically. And as a result, where our beliefs and assumptions reinforce our identity, the imagination and intuition and creating what we love magically reinforces our greatness. And again, plants us firmly within the magical world. And so that's how the subconscious mind works. And why, if we want to change our reality and transform our reality, all we've got to do is shift the power and shift the focus within our subconscious mind. So that's what I wanted to elaborate on today. And I'll be doing a future video where I'll be going into specifically the premise that we can employ to act as a bridge. Because that's all we have to do, is build this bridge between the two worlds, and then we can effortlessly cross it. And there's a premise that we can employ to do that. So I'll be creating another video very soon that explains that. But in the meantime, what I would invite you to do is to join me over in Patron and to become one of the patrons of the Mystery School. And one of the resources, of many resources I'll be making available to you, is an exercise which will allow you to wield and shift the power within your subconscious mind. And by looking at, the exercise will take you through the ability to look at an existing conflict that you haven't been able to resolve. So that's an example. When we're in conflict, that's an example of being in survival and struggle. Or looking at a creation that you'd love to bring to life that you haven't been able to bring to life. And what this exercise will do is ask a series of questions that will reveal the beliefs and assumptions that have the power in the subconscious mind, and reveal how you're resolving the tension of those beliefs and how you're creating the reality that you're creating. And so the exercise will bring these beliefs to the surface, and then I'll be leading you through how to shift the focus within your subconscious mind to your imagination and intuition. So you'll have a direct relationship with your imagination and intuition as a result, to reveal what you would love in relationship to this conflict or creation. And then in revealing the end result of what you love, it will also reveal the action that you can take to directly create it. Very simple, very powerful exercise. And so if you'd love to have access to that, just join me over on Patron. And as I said, I'll be creating lots of great resources to support these premises for you, and also creating a very vibrant community of people who would love to live their greatness, who would love to create what they love magically and effortlessly. So thanks again for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye for now.